There are places not meant to be found, not because they're forbidden, not because they're dangerous, but because they exist in the quiet shadows of the world. On pages torn from the backs of forgotten maps, no airports serve them, no glossy magazines praise them, and yet, life thrives there. In a cliffside village where homes are carved into volcanic stone, in a jungle where time stopped ticking and rivers still whisper to the trees, in a highland so remote, the clouds never left. These are not places for tourists. These are places for wanderers of the soul. The kind of places travel guides don't talk about, because they can't explain what it feels like to stand there and feel completely small, utterly amazed, and silently welcomed by a world that didn't even know you were coming. Today we travel not just through geography, but through forgotten stories, ancient echoes, and invisible threads that bind culture to earth. So pack your imagination, because once you've seen what's coming, you'll never look at Earth the same way again. Welcome to Unseen Earth, places you'll never find in travel guides. Deep in the remote highlands of eastern Myanmar, where roads vanish into the jungle and the mist clings to the trees like ancient breath, lies a village you won't find in any guidebook. They call it Papun, a quiet place wrapped in shadow, hidden in the folds of the Karen State Mountains. Few outsiders ever make it here, and even fewer truly understand it. This is a land of stories, not the kind you find in history books, but those whispered through generations. Stories of spirits in the hills and rivers that remember the dead. Papun survived not just the jungle, but decades of silent war, a conflict between the military and the Karen people, where battles were fought in silence and survival meant disappearing. Even now, the village walks a fine line between visibility and vanishing. You won't find signs. You won't find souvenirs. What you'll find is a people still holding tightly to what the world tried to erase. And in the quiet, if you listen closely, you'll hear it. A language, a rhythm, a resistance that flows like the Salween River beside them. No tourist buses come this way. No luxury lodges line these hills. Papun exists outside the maps, a place shaped not by travelers, but by time and endurance. To step into Papun is not just to witness a hidden village. It's to enter a world that was never meant to be seen, only remembered. Far off the southern coast of Japan, hidden in the Philippine Sea, lies an island that looks like it belongs in a fantasy novel, a volcanic crater where life quietly thrives in defiance of the Earth itself. This is Agashima, a remote caldera island in the Izu archipelago. Fewer than 200 people live here, surrounded by steep cliffs, thick forest, and the dormant rumble of a volcano that once brought devastation. In 1785, Aogashima erupted with such violence that nearly half the population perished. The survivors fled. For years, the island was abandoned, considered cursed, unlivable, a wound carved into the sea. But slowly, quietly, they returned. Today, the descendants of those who once fled have made peace with the land, building homes along the crater's inner slopes, working fields fed by volcanic soil, and relying on geothermal energy for heat and power. There are no shopping malls, no nightclubs, not even a hospital, just one ferry, one road, one school, and the deep, almost sacred rhythm of isolation. And at night, under a sky unspoiled by city lights, the island transforms into something even more surreal. A forgotten outpost between fire and sea, where nature's power hums beneath your feet. Aogashima is not for tourists seeking comfort. There are no resorts, no flashy brochures, just raw, living earth, and a community that has chosen to stay, to listen, and to endure. To the world, Aogashima barely exists, but for those who know, it's a miracle suspended between silence and survival. High above the clouds, where the air is thin and time feels frozen, sits a city most people will never see, and even fewer will ever understand. This is La Rinconada. At 16,700 feet above sea level, it is the highest permanent human settlement on Earth, a place that defies logic and in many ways defies hope. Living here means battling the elements every day. Oxygen is scarce. Water is contaminated. There's no plumbing, no real infrastructure, and yet nearly 50,000 people call this place home. What brought them here? Gold. In the early 2000s, a surge in global prices triggered a flood of migration to La Rinconada. But here, gold doesn't come easy or fair. The miners work under a system called cachorreo, toiling unpaid for weeks in hopes of a single day where they can keep whatever gold they find. It's a gamble. Sometimes they strike riches. More often, they strike nothing but dirt and silence. Yet life pulses here in strange, beautiful ways. Markets bloom along frozen alleyways. Music echoes through tin-roof homes. Families celebrate birthdays in the shadow of a glacier that is melting far too fast. La Rinconada is not on postcards. It's not in travel brochures, but it's very real. A city that feels more like a fever dream, perched on the edge of the world, where every breath is a test and every sunrise is a survival story. This isn't just the highest town on Earth. It may be one of its harshest truths, a place built on ambition, resilience, and the high price of gold. Far across the South Atlantic, thousands of miles from any mainland, there's a place where time feels like it forgot to move forward. This is Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited island on Earth. No airports, no shopping malls, no rush hour, just 250 people and one of the loneliest dots on the map of humanity. Here life is simple and harsh. Everything, food, medicine, supplies, must travel by boat from South Africa. a journey that takes 7 days when the seas are kind. The island is volcanic. A sleeping giant named Queen Mary's Peak looms in the distance, a reminder that paradise here is always on borrowed time. In fact, the islanders once fled. The volcano erupted and Tristan was abandoned. But against all odds, they returned. They rebuilt, because this is home. Life moves to a rhythm most of the world has forgotten. No one owns land. It belongs to the community. Jobs are shared. The internet is limited. There's one school, one hospital, one store. And yet, they endure, not as castaways, but as caretakers of an unseen corner of the earth. Some say living here is madness. Others call it freedom. But for the people of Tristan da Cunha, there's no debate. In isolation, they found something rare: connection, not just to each other, but to a way of life the modern world left behind. Perched high atop a crumbling cliff in the Lazio region of central Italy lies a place that seems too delicate, too ethereal to have survived this long. Civita di Bagnoregio, locals call it La Città che Muore, the dying city. And once you see it, you understand why. It's a town suspended between earth and sky. Founded over 2,500 years ago by the Etruscans, Civita once thrived as a hilltop fortress. But time, wind, and the soft volcanic rock beneath its feet have betrayed it. Slowly, piece by piece, the land is falling away, taking homes, roads, and memories with it. And yet, it remains. A miracle of human perseverance. Only a handful of residents live here year-round now. Maybe a dozen at most. There's no school, no hospital, no cars, just winding alleys, silence, and stories. Each stone wall holds a chapter. Roman tombs lie beneath. Medieval churches stand above. There's a timelessness here, the kind you feel in your bones. But Civita isn't just dying, it's defying. Tourists come, drawn by its fragility. Artists paint it before it vanishes. And engineers fight to reinforce its base, to delay the inevitable. One day, the Earth may finally win. But until then, Civita di Bagnoregio remains a whisper of a world that refuses to be forgotten. High above the plains of Thessaly in central Greece, where massive stone pillars jut out from the earth like ancient sentinels, humanity carved out a home in the sky. This is Meteora, a name that means suspended in air. And when you see it, you'll understand why. Perched atop these sheer cliffs at heights of over 1,000 feet are some of the most astonishing cliffside villages and monasteries on Earth. For centuries, monks and hermits came here seeking solitude and protection. In the 14th century, when invading forces swept across Greece, these pinnacles became a refuge from the chaos below. With no roads or stairs, supplies were once hauled up by ropes, pulleys, and determination. Everything, from food to bricks to books, had to be pulled hundreds of feet through the air, suspended in handmade nets. Today, 6 of the original 24 monasteries still remain, active and alive. But they are no longer only places of prayer. They are living museums of human resilience and gravity-defying architecture. To visit Meteora is to feel small and yet strangely elevated, as if the mountains themselves have opened their arms and whispered, "Look what we've held for you all along." Carved into the rugged mountains of northwestern Iran lies a village that looks like it belongs in a dream, or perhaps a legend passed down for centuries. Kandavan, a village where people don't just live beside the rocks, they live inside them. Like ancient beehives fossilized in volcanic ash, these homes were not built. They were sculpted by time, by nature, and by hand. For over 700 years, families have hollowed out these volcanic spires, turning solid stone into warm, living spaces. You'll find kitchens carved into rock, and staircases winding through stone corridors, and balconies etched into the mountainside. But Kandavan isn't a relic frozen in time. It's alive. Children play in the stone alleyways. Livestock graze at the foot of the cliffs. Tourists arrive wide-eyed, unaware they've stepped into a Tolkien-esque landscape that predates many modern cities. Legend has it that the name Kandavan stems from the Persian word for beehive, a nod to the buzzing life that still hums through these hollowed stones. Others believe the formation began when the volcanic eruption of Mount Sahand, thousands of years ago, left behind soft rock that wind and water carved into these fantastical shapes. Today, fewer than 200 families still live in Kandavan's rock-hewn homes. They resist the pull of modern apartments, choosing to remain rooted in this stone-bound tradition. They say the rock keeps them warm in winter and cool in summer. It's easy to feel like you're walking through a living museum. But make no mistake, this is not a place of the past. It is a testament to the resilience and creativity of people who carved out comfort and beauty in one of the harshest terrains imaginable. In Kandavan, Iran, the line between nature and shelter is blurred, and the stones themselves seem to whisper stories, if you're quiet enough to listen. On the eastern edge of Greenland's frozen wilderness, far beyond where roads end and the modern world fades into white, lies a settlement wrapped in silence, solitude, and snow. Itakortormite, a name as formidable as the land it stands on. Fewer than 400 people call it home, and for good reason. This is one of the most isolated inhabited places on Earth. There's no highway leading here, no railways, just one supply ship that visits once a year, and a tiny helipad that vanishes under winter storms. For most of the year, the sea freezes over, locking the village in ice and time. But isolation isn't a curse here. It's a tradition. The Inuit settlers who founded this village in the 1920s did so to escape the encroaching world, to preserve a way of life that depended not on clocks and commerce, but on the rhythms of nature. In Itakortormite, silence is a companion, the sea is a neighbor, and survival is an art. There are no malls, no theaters, but there's something else, something few places can offer. The northern lights sweep across the sky like painted spirits. Polar bears roam the ice like kings, and beneath the frozen stillness, there's an unspoken pride. This village is not for tourists. It's not even for curious travelers. It's for those who understand that remoteness can be sacred, and that some stories are meant to be lived, not watched. In the silence of Greenland's edge, Meet endures, not because it must, but because it chooses to. Perched high on the edge of the world, beyond towering sea cliffs and shrouded in clouds, lies a village that, for nearly a century, remained nearly unreachable. This is Gassadalur, a name as poetic as the landscape it hides in. Only a handful of souls live here, nestled between mountains that seem to lean in protectively, as if guarding an ancient secret. For generations, the only way in or out was by foot, a brutal climb over a 700-meter mountain pass, often blanketed in fog or snow. Even the mailman had to hike, carrying letters and parcels across the treacherous path, just so this village wouldn't fade from the map. Life here moved slowly. Sheep outnumbered people. The sea fed them. The mountains sheltered them. And the world seemed to forget them. Life here moved slowly. Sheep outnumbered people. The sea fed them. The mountains sheltered them. And the world seemed to forget them. But something about Gassadalur held on, as if the village itself refused to vanish. In 2004, after much pleading, a tunnel was finally carved through the mountain. Just one road, linking Gassadalur to the rest of the Faroe Islands. Yet despite the access, the village never rushed to modernize. It remains frozen in a kind of sacred stillness, a place where the sound of sheep bells and distant gulls replaces traffic and time. And then there's Mulafossur, the waterfall that made Gassadalur world famous on postcards, yet ironically left its soul untouched. Even with growing interest from travelers, the village holds firm to its quiet rhythm. There's a feeling you get here, like you've stepped out of reality and into something much older and much slower. A life not forgotten, just hidden. In Gassadalur, the world hasn't ended. It's simply waiting. Waiting to be found by those patient enough to listen to silence and brave enough to stand where the earth ends. High above the clouds, nestled in the cliffs of the eastern Himalayas, lie villages that seem almost too surreal to be real. Places so remote, so untouched, they feel more like whispers from a dream than actual dwellings. They are the cliff villages of Bhutan, sanctuaries in the sky, ancient, sacred, and impossibly perched where only the most determined souls would ever settle. These villages weren't built for convenience. They were built for clarity, for spiritual refuge, for solitude in a world that never stops moving. For centuries, Bhutanese monks and lay people alike have sought peace on these ledges, where the line between earth and sky blurs, and where enlightenment feels just a little closer. Many of these villages orbit sacred temples, like the iconic Tiger's Nest, Taksang Palfug, a 17th century marvel built into the rock face nearly 3,000 feet above the valley floor. Legends say that Padmasambhava, the revered Buddhist master, flew to this very cliff on the back of a tigress to meditate in a cave and tame the demons of Bhutan. And while tales like that may feel fantastical, one thing is certain. These villages are steeped in energy, a presence, something almost watchful. Life here is harsh but meaningful. No roads, no modern distractions, just stone paths, sheer drops, and an ever-present awareness of how fragile and sacred life truly is. The cliff villages of Bhutan are not tourist stops. They're testaments to faith, to resilience, and to the human spirit's longing to rise above the noise of the world. On the eastern edge of Greenland, where jagged mountains guard frozen fjords and the sea whispers in a language of ice, lies a town that seems to have wandered out of a dream. This is Tasiilaq, a town of just over 2,000 people, yet it stands as the largest settlement on Greenland's remote east coast. To reach it, there are no roads, only air or sea when the ice allows. Here the seasons are fierce and defining. Winter hangs long and heavy, with snow swallowing the hills and twilight stretching for hours. But in summer, this land bursts with impossible color. Tasiilaq's homes are painted like a child's storybook. Brilliant hues defying the monochrome cold, a palette of hope against the white of the world. This is a place where tradition still walks alongside survival. Sled dogs outnumber cars, hunters still chase seals on handmade kayaks, and stories, ancient ones, are passed from elders like sacred fire. But isolation comes with a price. Supplies must be flown in. Mental health is a quiet crisis. And as the ice melts faster each year, the people of Tasiilaq watch the edges of their world blur into something unknown. Still, they endure. Through blizzards and silence, through grief and celebration, they stay. Because this frozen frontier is more than home. It's identity, memory, and resistance carved into ice. Tasiilaq isn't in the guidebooks. It doesn't need to be. For those who seek it, it will feel less like a destination and more like a whispered truth in the cold. Clinging to the cliffs of China's Taihang Mountains is a village so hidden, so improbable. It almost doesn't seem real. No highways, no rail lines, just a chiseled path through stone and a story of defiance written into the mountain itself. This is Guoliang, a place once cut off from the world, a village forgotten by time and ignored by maps. For generations, the only way in or out was by foot, a dangerous trail snaking along sheer cliffs where one misstep meant a fatal fall. Children carried supplies on their backs, elders traveled by mule. Life here was hard, but rooted in pride. By the early 1970s, frustration grew. The Chinese government wouldn't build a road, so the villagers did it themselves. 13 men, hand tools, no formal engineering. For 5 years, they carved through solid mountain, inch by inch, meter by meter. Using hammers and chisels, they fought rock with sheer will. Some called it madness. Others called it a miracle in motion. Today, their creation still stuns. The Guoliang Tunnel, 1.2 kilometers of hand-cut road, twisting through cliffside windows that seem to defy physics and fear. Tourists now marvel at it, but to the villagers, it's a symbol of survival. Life here remains quiet. Stone houses blend into the cliffs as if they have grown from the earth itself. There are no skyscrapers, no neon lights, just echoes of hammer strikes and the heartbeat of a mountain that remembers. Guoliang is more than a village. It's a monument to human spirit, a place carved not just from rock, but from courage. And those who walk its tunnel today walk through history written in stone. Deep within the red stone labyrinth of the Grand Canyon lies a place so remote, so hidden from the modern world. It's often called the last truly isolated village in the continental United States. This is Supai, the heart of the Havasupai Nation, a village that time didn't quite forget, but one that learned how to live apart from it. Here there are no roads, no cars, no highways. The only way in or out, a 10-mile hike, a horseback ride, or a helicopter. And once you're in, you feel the stillness. Supai has been home to the Havasupai people for centuries, long before Arizona was on any map. Their name means people of the blue-green waters. And one look at Havasu Creek, you'll know why. These waters are sacred, not just for their beauty, but for their life-giving power. In a land of red dust and sun-scorched cliffs, this water is everything. Supai isn't just hidden in the canyon, it's hidden in time. The mail still arrives by mule. The internet, spotty at best. And the silence here, it hums with a kind of ancient rhythm. But being cut off has its cost. Floods have devastated the village. Supplies can be delayed for days. And with tourism as the main income, balancing preservation and survival is a daily challenge. And yet, Supai endures. It is both a sanctuary and a mystery, a living echo of a people who never left, even when the world around them changed. A place so remote, most maps don't even bother to mark it. Supai isn't just a village, it's a hidden heartbeat pulsing in the quiet chest of the canyon. Along the dramatic cliffs of Italy's Amalfi Coast, where sun-drenched roads wind like ribbon through the mountains, lies a place you'd miss unless you already knew it was there. Furore. They call it the town that doesn't exist, not because it's gone, but because it was never meant to be found. Unlike the postcard towns of Positano or Amalfi, Furore never had a town square. No bustling piazza, no visible center, just a scattered mosaic of homes carved into stone, as if the mountain itself decided who could stay. For centuries, Furore was a village of sea people, fishermen, rope makers, artisans, all living between the rock and the tide, speaking in dialects only they understood. Today it's an open-air museum of silence and color, walls telling stories through brushstrokes, while time slips gently through the cracks of cobblestone paths. And then there's the fjord itself, a deep, narrow cleft in the land. where waves echo like whispers from another world. Every July, daring cliff divers leap from the bridge above, a moment of flight in a town rooted in stillness. With fewer than 1,000 residents, Furore remains stubbornly itself. No tourist flood, no sprawling hotels, just homes, stories, and stone. You won't find Furore in most travel guides. It hides in plain sight, a village that refuses to shout, yet somehow sings to those who listen. Furore isn't a destination, it's a secret, and it only reveals itself to those who look closely enough to see. High in the misty folds of the Peruvian Andes, veiled by clouds and far from the tourist-laden pass of Machu Picchu, lies another city, one the world nearly forgot, Choqquequirao, the cradle of gold, a name that echoes with mystery, defiance, and silence. Built by the Incas in the late 15th century, Choqquequirao was more than a sister city to Machu Picchu. It was a final stand, a last refuge for those who refused to surrender to the Spanish conquest. This vast citadel, hidden nearly 10,000 feet above sea level, served as a resistance hub. As invaders burned their empire to the ground, Incan warriors and priests retreated here, into the clouds, into secrecy. But over time, the drums of rebellion faded. The jungle, patient and eternal, crept in. For centuries, Choqquequirao lay untouched, swallowed by vines and silence, a ghost city sleeping beneath green skin. Only recently has this place begun to emerge again, with no roads, no trains, and no easy access. Reaching it still demands a grueling multi-day trek through steep canyons and thick wilderness. And maybe that's why it remains so sacred, so pure. Choqquequirao isn't just a destination, it's a pilgrimage, one that rewards not just the traveler's legs, but their soul. Here the stones whisper of sacrifice and survival, of empires lost, not by defeat, but by time. And as the clouds roll in again to shroud the city, you're left wondering, was this place truly lost, or was it always meant to be hidden? Choqquequirao, the silent sibling, the unseen sanctuary, a golden cradle in the arms of the Andes. Across forests and fjords, deserts and cliffs, we wandered through the invisible threads of Earth's hidden places, places untouched by tour buses, unlisted in glossy travel brochures, whispers of human wonder, survival, and mystery. But these aren't just lost locations, they're stories. Each path tells of people who built homes at the edge of the impossible, carved lives into stone, and dared to remain unseen. Why do these places captivate us? Maybe it's because they remind us that the Earth still has secrets, that not everything can be Googled or packaged into a weekend escape. These villages, these outposts of culture and silence, they ask something of us. They ask us to slow down, to listen, to leave the well-worn road behind and follow curiosity instead. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you plan a journey, you'll skip the obvious and seek the unseen. Because Earth still hides wonders. for those willing to look. If this journey moved you, there's more waiting. Subscribe to The Hidden Planet and travel deeper to places even maps forgot. Until next time, keep exploring.